There we go.
One clothing line alone is not enough to destroy societal oppression. There needs to be something so widely accessible that anyone can participate.
Anyone.
So, I suggest a politically forceful aesthetic style called radical visibility. Physical visibility is an important step towards political and social freedom and equality. Sky Cubacub.
Join the movement. Queer Crip power. Will be blooming like a flower. Yeah. Faith in black, non-binary, tall, shy, but they'll stand up for themselves if it's called for. Y2K backup dancer. It overseas, so you just missed your chance, sir. And you know they got those cargo shorts, rocking those hip-off leg warmers. And you know they got the pockets on that quilted vest with the hardware closures. You might wanna say hello, cause they're looking beautiful in neon yellow. They got that skin ass on, so let them get down to their song. Strap on your utility belt, combat baby over and out.
Rationalization appears in our everyday lives as ready-to-wear clothing. Rationalization does not actually reduce human variation. Rather, it erases our particularities from the record of who we are and how we live. This pervasive smoothing out of human complexity and variation molds how we understand ourselves and others. Rosemary Garland Thompson.
Join the movement. Just join power. Still be blooming like a flower.
Left, right. This is how we bop it on a Saturday night. And the neon green looking merry and bright. They, them, he, him, honey, please get it right. It ain't snowing outside yet, so we can still wear mesh. The movement we rep in, we are the collective. Our bodies aren't perfect, but certainly worth it. His paler complexion still got some melanin. The color black leggings, their dark brown eyes. Shape of their arms bent from side to side. Coat keeping them warm like your boyfriend at night. Beanie with the short hair tucked inside. Quilt on the scarf and the turtleneck stripe. Like SpongeBob said, it's always the best time.
The inability to value queer lives is related to the inability to imagine disabled lives. Both are failures of the imagination, supporting and supported by the drive towards normalcy and normalization. Allison Kafer.
Join the movement. Queer Crip power. Still be blooming like a flower. Flower, baby.
White girl with a big butt. Thick thighs make 'em go nuts. Strike a pose, then another one. Small chest, but her heart is open wide. Got short hair on the side. Got that cape on behind. It snaps off if you like. Skirt flowing like the Chi-Town River. Green vest looking like it could have been denim. Holographic emblem of the queer Crip symbol. Let it catch the light so they can really get the picture. She don't have lack of access to quilted fleece and patches. Power chair strut, feet don't even have to touch the ground. She's bound to move her head around. Bandeau bra, keep the girl sitting pretty. Logo, you know it's radical visibility. Let the people see, we're not afraid to be. No matter what they say, we will not shy away. Make your choice today. Flower.
My name is Dr. Pau Abustan. They, Sha pronouns. Thank you to all for joining Cal State LA Women's Gender Sexuality Studies for our conversation centering queer Crip Pilipinx Joy Art and Storytelling with Sky Cubacub. Thank you to our WGSS sponsor, Christina and Ingrid with Bowtie Interpreting, Asian American Studies Professor, Dr. Joy Sales, thank you to Marla, Jack, Jeff, Emmy with Web Media Accessibility, Iris with Arts and Letters, and thank you all for making this a public access event, recording to be uploaded on YouTube with closed captioning and live captioning accessibility. So Indigenous Land Statement. With great respect, Cal State LA acknowledges the Tongva people as the traditional caretakers of Tovangar, the Tongva world, including the Los Angeles Basin, South Central Islands, San Gabriel Pomona Valleys, and portions of Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. Cal State LA is located on these lands. As an institution located on unceded Tongva land, we pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and our relatives' relations past, present, and emerging. Consistent with our values of community, diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to uphold Cal State LA more accountable to the needs of American Indian peoples. Prepared by Dr. Kimberly Robertson, Muskogee, and Tongva Elder Julia Bogani. In terms of accessibility, please prioritize your body-mind needs throughout this presentation. Request access needs in the chat. If you can, take a break, close your eyes, move around, fidget, stim, drink water, eat, stand up, lie down. Do what you need to nourish, replenish, and refresh your body, mind always. I am Dr. Pau Abustan. I go by they, Sha pronouns, and I center the queer critical race feminist disability dream making found within youth learning, popular culture animated storytelling, and coalitional activisms. I am an assistant professor of WGSS at Cal State LA. My image description is I am a gender fluid scholar activist educator with short black hair, dark brown eyes, light brown skin. And I'm wearing this cute little tiger here on top of my head. It's a white tiger to help me with my anxiety today. So thank you all so much. And I am so proud today to be in conversation with Sky Cubacub. They, them, they, them, their pronouns. They are a non-binary disabled Filipinx neuroqueer from Chicago, Illinois. They are the creator of Rebirth Garments, a line of wearables for trans, queer, and disabled people of all sizes and all ages, which started summer 2014. Sky's image description in the opening slide is Sky throwing their head back while laughing very hard. They are wearing geometric makeup and their signature scale mail headpiece and handpieces, geometric power clashing colorful unitard, pink lavender chain mail top with sculptural meta mail sleeves, based off Filipinx butterfly sleeves. This photo is by Grace Duval. And if you would like to follow them on social media and websites, their website is rebirthgarments.com and etsy.com/shop/rebirthgarments. You can follow them at Rebirths on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And we will share these links with you in the chat. So thank you so much, everyone. Round of applause for Sky here with us today. And I will start out with the first opening question as we are in conversation today. And the first question is, I will ask to Sky, is what does queer Crip Pilipinx mean to you? How did you come home to your queer Crip Pilipinx self?
Hi all, this is Sky speaking. I'll first do a quick audio description of myself. I am wearing mostly monochromatic pink crop top, queer Crip symbol earrings that are laser cut, and my signature pink headpiece that is made out of scale mail with a couple of other multicolors with it. I am also wearing some butterfly sleeves that are literally based off of the butterfly sleeves that my grandma Cora used to make me. So these ones are out of black buckram. So they're kind of sheer. And then they have a little bit of brass and black chainmail detailing on them in the front to make it kind of a harness, and then also some fun fringe out of chainmail. I always think of queer Crip Filipinx identities as getting to celebrate every part of myself. It's one of the reasons why I started my clothing line. I wanted to be able to celebrate all parts of my identities, being queer, non-binary, neurodivergent, disabled, and Filipino. And I think that I really came home to my queer Crip Filipinx self right as I was preparing for my first Rebirth Garments show in 2015. This was immediately after I graduated from college, and I was getting my photos taken from this amazing artist, Kiam Marcelo Junio. They were doing the press photos for my first show. They were the first non-binary Filipinx artists that I had ever met. And I instantly felt so comfortable with them and felt like they were a sibling. A couple years after that, I met more queer Filipinx people who were actually still at the school, at the college that I went to. And I joined their queer Filipinx art collective that they had started, which is called Export Quality Collective. It was wild because I had always felt so alone as a Filipinx person who was both mad and queer, but I felt such a mutual understanding with both Kiam and the artists from Export Quality. It just felt very natural and like I had always been able to have this access to this type of collection and pride in being Filipinx. Being able to talk freely about being neurodivergent and mad, but also about being queer and non-binary with other people who understood rather than dismiss it or shame me. Like my grandma saying, "It's all in your head," whenever I would talk about mental health stuff, which I'm like, yes, it is in my head, but it doesn't make it any less real. Or panicking whenever I had other relatives try to out me to my grandma. So it was so much different having these amazing people in my life, having this connection to others with similar experiences has been very healing and has made me feel at home in all of these identities and makes it feel like I have always had it. And it's kind of hard to remember the times when I felt ashamed of being Filipino when I was younger, even though that was such a present thing in my childhood. I'll pass it to you, Pau.
Thank you for sharing, Sky. And thank you once again for being with us today. I have this from you. It says Queer Crip in pink lettering, and it has the Queer Crip symbol of queer and disability and transgender and non-binary pride awesomeness. So thank you. And I also have this from Sky. It's a pin in white and blue lettering that says, "Ask me my access needs." Yay. And then this pin, it's rainbow themed, and it's a wheelchair user with the genderqueer symbol. So yay, queer crip pride. And I know I have one more thing from you. So this is assigned cute and at birth. So this is totally me. How did you know, Sky? So thank you so much. I am so assigned cute at birth, and all of the little ones I know too are assigned cute at birth. So thank you for these wonderful pins. And I also have this manifesto by Rebirth Garments, and it's the cover of the manifesto, and it says Radical Visibility Queer Crip Dress Movement Manifesto with Alice Wong and Sky Cubacub. And I'm forgetting the third person. Can you remind me, Sky?
Her name's Nina Lidoff.
Yay. So thank you. Thank you for sharing more about how you came home to Queer Crip Pilipinx. For me, Queer Crip Pilipinx is wholeness, but at the same time, as you shared what you have experienced from your grandma as well, it can also be fragmentation at the same time. And this wholeness is me because I, Dr. Pau, right? I am queer. I resist cis heterosexist norms. I am ACEs, queer platonic, all gender loving, a gender fluid person. I resist compulsory abledness when, like you, I am so proud of my neuroqueer, neurodivergent self, chronically ill self, disabled. And I am Filipinx when I align myself strategically with our diasporic Filipinx community, consisting of over 150 indigenous tribes that resist colonization and imperialism. I honor my femme, queer, and crip, Aita, and Kapampangan indigenous ancestors who actively refuse abuse and who refuse subhuman status perpetuated by colonizers. Simultaneously, I'm fragmented when this systemic discrimination persists. I think, okay, there you go. So I think we're having ASL access. So colonial systems of education and society attempt to separate us from one another, but every class I teach has all of our interdependent communities in it. Like you, I came home to my queer, crip, mad self when learning we are not lesser than. We are not needing fixing and saving. We are beautiful, whole, and intelligent. And unfortunately, I did not grow up loving myself. And since my grandma was taught to use whitening soap, I too used whitening soap growing up. And I too pin my nose to be pointier. However, I am learning to love myself. And unfortunately, the churches I grew up attending also preached against gay people. So thus I grew up hating myself. However, sick and disabled, trans, queer, Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities have led me to finding that love for myself and each other. We should more than just exist. We should thrive. And I know Sky will be showing us more videos later on. And Sky, you are definitely part of my healing journey, my journey to be proud of ourselves and our community. So thank you very much. So my next question for Sky is, and us, is what brings you joy? How do you cultivate joy at Rebirth Garments and when resting?
This has been kind of a complicated question for me more recently, but the basis behind Rebirth Garments was all about joy, and that's basically what I want to mainly focus on for all of my work in my life. But it's become a little bit more difficult in the past 3 years. I ended up gaining a new disability of chronic fatigue syndrome as a post viral complication of having mono. So I'm still trying to figure out a balance between rest and work. I've had to take quite a step back from production for my clothing line, but I've been able to discover more joy with teaching kids. So earlier this summer, I started a youth fashion incubator program, working with a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old on creating their own collections. And we had a show in June, and then the program expanded to include a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old, and another 16-year-old for a show in August at the Garfield Park Conservatory here in Chicago. This was in connection with the Chicago Public Library and the Chicago Parks District for an event called Queer Radical Fair. Because of how good I felt doing these one-on-one intensives with all of the youth and helping them create their own collections, I have recently decided to pivot my work more towards teaching with youth. Working with the youth has really helped me a lot because I've been feeling very down about myself, about not being able to work the way that I used to, and having to greatly reduce my offerings in terms of my products on my website. But I feel if I get to pass on the knowledge I have about making clothing for queer and trans disabled folks of all sizes and ages, then I can help my students create their own clothing lines, and they can help fill the gap in the clothing world. I think that's what I've been doing to bring myself joy in my work. How about you, Pau?
Thank you. This is Pau. For me, as a professor cultivating joy, I invite my students to create a comfy, cozy community. I call it 3 C's. Comfy, cozy community. And attendance and participation is not graded because I really want my students to rest. Miss class if you're not feeling well. Take care of yourselves, reach out for support. And also they can access the class video and transcript recordings after, and they can turn in work late, no penalty. Number 1, right, is nourishing our body minds. And in terms of heavy material, there are content notes, there are samples for papers and discussions, and everything we do centers sick, disabled, trans, queer, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So we learn from you, Sky. We learn from Alice Wong. We learn from all of y'all, amazing folks. And for resting, I find joy in my warm blanket, warm tea, youth culture, animated storytelling, and really moments of interdependence, a key disability justice tenet, how we need each other to survive. I love caring for my very succulent garden. I love it. And also my grandma taught me to make flan. So I love making flan, leche flan, and baking tres leches cake. And like you, I love serving as a model, a possibility model for trans and queer Crip youth. I was sharing with Sky earlier that more of the youth actually honor my gender fluidity more than the adults in my life. So I'm so happy to be around kids, you know, who call me Mr., Mrs., Mix, who really love that fluidity with me. And yes, I love all of this joy, but also, yes, please take care of yourself, reach out for support as well. So my next question for us is, tell us more about your queer Crip Pilipinx-led storytelling and art.
This is Sky speaking. So when I first started Rebirth Garments, none of the people that I told about my clothing line idea at my college thought that disabled people could be sexual, let alone queer. At the time, most of all of the leading trans undergarment lines adhered to outdated, like pre/post-operative surgical thinking and like language, using only terms F to M or M to F to describe only two possible transitions, both conforming to binary frameworks. So I felt very uncomfortable with that. I had not known that being non-binary was an option until I was 18. So, but I immediately felt like that was me. And I wanted to make clothing that honored this type of more fluid, non-binary identity that was just open to anything. And then other clothing that was created for people with disabilities often resembled like medical clothing or like scrubs, things like that. And they weren't cute or fun, let alone sexy. So I really felt that the mainstream focus on minimizing or medicalizing garments for trans folks and for disabled folks is very dehumanizing and wrongly assumes that we're not able to be sexual people if we want to, or be proud of our bodies. So because all of this like was working against me and all of us, I decided that I had to write my manifesto, the Radical Visibility, a Queer Crip Dress Reform Movement manifesto, in order to articulate my ideology around fashion and society and everything. My ideology is all about claiming our bodies, and through the use of bright colors, exuberant fabrics, and custom made like patterns so that things are fitting people the way that they want them to be. We are refusing to assimilate to cis heteropatriarchal ideals. And I realized in creating Rebirth Garments, I had to intimately share my story and talk about my identities, and that the true focus of Rebirth Garments was actually on education rather than just being a clothing line. So this type of storytelling of like, yeah, real life experiences has been integral since the beginning, because without it, people just had no clue what I was even talking about half the time, which, yeah, is understandable because a lot of times people are not getting this type of education early on. And then another part of my storytelling right now, I am starting a web show for kids called Sky and the Rebirth Warriors. And I'll show the teaser trailer at the end of this little talk. It's targeted towards ages 6 through 11, but enjoyable for all ages. Every episode will focus on an overall lesson or aspect of the disability justice movement. So far, the idea is kind of like a queer, disabled Mr. Rogers vibe, mixed with the crafts and fun of shows like Out of the Box and Zoom, which was the kids' TV show from the 60s and 90s, not the Zoom that we're on right now, with some Pee-wee's Playhouse camp aesthetics. I've always been told that I look like a children's show host. So 3 years ago, that's when I decided that I would just go for it. Although it literally was in January 2020 that I was like, okay, I'm gonna start this, and then we had to go into lockdown. So and then I also had gained this new disability of chronic fatigue syndrome, but like didn't quite know it yet. So a lot of my plans have been delayed for a long time, but I'm working on it now. We're shooting in 2 weeks exactly. And yeah, so I just am passionate about helping youth feel empowered to create their own change and make the world more accessible to queer, disabled, POC, fat, intersex, trans, and non-binary folks. The show is going to feature child participants, guest artists, puppets, my resident sidekick puppy, and myself. And there'll be, yeah, lots of different themes. We're going to have definitely an episode about stimming and neurodivergence, dealing with chronic fatigue syndrome, dealing with or why it's great to be fragrance free for people with multiple chemical sensitivity like myself, and many other things. We're going to have open audio description, which I think I'll talk about a little bit more later. But yeah, I just, in my experiences as I had as a youth, it's going to be really directly informing my desire to connect and share with other young creatives. I found my passion in life at a very young age, and I've always been perceived to be much younger than I am, pretty much all due to being Filipinx, which has led to a lot of frustration and validation, but also the spark to never replicate those behaviors. I still experience adultism, because even though I'm 31, everyone thinks I'm 16 years old, and complete lack of faith and trust in youth. So I just really want to use storytelling and have the youth share their stories in a way that doesn't belittle any of us. So yeah, that's what I'm working on next. How about you, Pau?
I'm so thankful you are working with youth, Sky. I know I needed you during my youth. This is Pau here. So I hope everyone in the audience is stimming right now. If you love to stim, you can fidget. I have a poppet here. It is actually shaped as a Pokeball, a Pokemon ball. It's red and black and white, and it has Bulbasaur, a plant-themed Pokemon in it. So, right? And I love Pokemon, and the youth that I work with love Pokemon too. And I have a Pikachu plushie here, a yellow electric mouse with red cheeks, and the mouse is electric. It's a Pokemon. So I hope everyone in the crowd or in the audience is taking care of themselves, lying down, drinking water, eating, move around. So thank you so much for the great work you do with youth. I do identify as autistic and ADHD, AUDHD, AUDHD, neurodivergent pride, woohoo, yay. And, I grew up not talking much, and I can continue to be highly anxious when I talk with others and when I teach. I drew art and I read a lot as a child. As an adult, I love playing and writing about Nintendo Switch, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Wildflowers, which has a bunch of awesome trans and queer BIPOC characters. There still needs to be more disabled representation for sure and access in video games. And so all of this brings me joy. Like you and your cute puppy, I have a Labradoodle too, a Black Access Labradoodle named Milo. I find joy with Milo, my puppy, and being at the near plants, ocean shores, like my background here. I got a palm tree with the ocean, reminds me of the Philippines. And let's see here. I love nature because it helps me slow down. So that's what brings me joy. And my students who are in the audience today, who also came up with these questions, they bring me joy as they also share their art, their poems, their storytelling, their music with us. And I'm sure many of them are inspired by you today, Sky, seeing your lovely queer Crip fashion and art. So thank you. That's what brings me joy. So we just have a few more questions here. At 4 o'clock, Sky will have some awesome radical visibility videos to show us and photos. So the next question is, how do we tap into our creative potentials for radical visible storytelling, fashion, and art?
This is Sky speaking. I had started a fashion DIY program for teens, but that's available on YouTube with the Chicago Public Library. That's called Radical Fit. And I can put a link in the chat for people later and that's a good place to start for radically visible fashion. Especially one of the early episodes is a creative dressing exercise that I like to do with people of all ages, where I get folks looking at the clothing that you already have in your closets in new ways, stripping away the ideas of how clothing is supposed to be worn, quote unquote, and thinking of clothing as just different shapes that you can drape on your body in many different ways. Because yeah, clothing, even though a shirt may be designed to be put on the top of your body with your head in the neck hole and your arms through the armholes, you don't have to wear it that way. You could put your legs through the armholes and use the bottom of the shirt as your waistband for pants. um, so yeah, you can check out that video that I'll put a link to. Playing dress up at home or in a space that you feel comfortable or safe. That's a good thing to always do. If you have any safe friends in your life that you can do this with, that's always really nice. You can play around. Um, I Even though I'm all about radical visibility, it's also always with this caveat of doing what's safe for you. So you don't have to be being super radically visible at like church if that's too intense and might not be possible for you. Um, but yeah, in places where it is safe, even if it's just your bedroom or your bathroom, it's good to start playing with it and start pushing the envelopes. I know people who've gone to schools where they have to have uniforms will come up with creative ways to make them their own, whether it's through accessories or just like small little details. But like that can still be very radically visible. Like any of these ways that we can rebel and show our personalities. Uh, Another way of tapping into creative potentials in storytelling is, I mean, the thing that I'm most interested in the past couple of years is audio description as storytelling and art in itself. Uh, we listened earlier to one of the songs that has audio descriptive lyrics of one of the fashion performances that I've done. And it has descriptions of the models, how they're dressed, and their dance moves. And these are actually taken from interviews that I do with the models. So some of it is verbatim, exactly how they describe themselves. And then my friend Vogues, who was the executive producer for the 2 albums where we had the audio descriptive lyrics, along with lots of other amazing music artists, will take those interviews that I conducted and then like make the lyrics rhyme and things like that. So yeah, audio description can be really exciting and it doesn't have to be dry. I had dealt a lot with like old white men audio describers who would just really monotonely describe people, but not check in with how people wanted to be described. So they might misgender folks or only describe somebody's skin color if they were a person of color and not if they were a white person because they viewed that as the default. And I really didn't like how that type of audio description was. So when I did a show where I didn't get to do enough audio descriptions afterwards, I had somebody come from the audience come up to me and ask me if I had ever done it simultaneously as the performance. And I had been talking to Jake Vogues, who's the little blue person in this cover, because they wanted to make music based off of my manifesto. So I then went to them and was like, oh, can we make that, but also have these audio descriptive lyrics? So yeah, the 2 albums that we did with those audio descriptive lyrics were collaborative collections that I did with Vogues and my other collaborator, Compton Q. And hopefully at some point we'll have a Radical Visibility Collective 3 show. But you can see the first 2 on my Vimeo. And then, yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on with my radically visible storytelling. How about you, Pau?
This is Pau. For me, wow, your radically visible collective shows, I think tap into my creative potential. Just listening to the lyrics, witnessing you right now, Sky, wearing your lovely earrings and your butterfly sleeves and your just everything. It's like opening a new portal, like a new world. And some of the lyrics in the songs, they say stuff about like star children, and it's really like I feel like it's like galactic, and it's opening that imagination, right, that has been shut down by the current society that we live in. So you're really dreaming this new world, and that is what taps me into my creative potential. Another is my awesome former colleague and friend, or current friend, at Western Washington University, Dr. Jane Wong, Asian American feminist. She has a Writing Deliciously workshop, and it was so awesome because I tapped into this creative storytelling through food, right? Through all of these basic needs that are so needed, right? Delicious food is a basic need. Rest is a basic need. And the arts, your art, Sky, like you, like you are like, this is our need, like, right? We need the arts that nourish us. So thank you. Yay, creative potential. And I hope the audience can tap into their creative potential as well. And just a few more questions here before 4 o'clock, but maybe I'll ask these two questions. One of them is, what do you wish for our interconnected communities? And any fun moments you want to share with us?
This is Sky speaking. And also, I think, Pau, in the Q&A, there's a couple of questions that I think you can just type the answers to the people. I guess I mostly wish for more solidarity with immunocompromised people. Being immunocompromised, I'm seeing less and less care from even other disabled folks who are not immunocompromised, in terms of like COVID safety and protocols. I have been extremely isolated the past 3 years. I'm semi-fine with, I mean, I'm only okay with it because I do have a couple of really big, supportive people in my life that I can be always with. And then other than that, I have people that I am able to talk to on the phone as support. But I know a lot of people don't have very supportive folks in their lives. So yeah, it just like makes it very impossible to go anywhere. And then, yeah, having people still, just get very dismissive of safety when it's our lives. I guess a fun family moment that I have is my grandma Cora made me a lot of my clothing when I was very young, and all of my Halloween costumes. So I was many different characters over the years from the show Xena the Warrior Princess. In 3rd grade, when I was Xena, my grandma had extra time, so she actually ended up making a matching Xena outfit for my mom, which I'll show that picture right after this. And then there was the next year, I was Xena's partner, Gabrielle. And my grandma was so dedicated to making the costumes as close as possible to what they looked like on the show. and she was unhappy with the like faux fur options at Vogue Fabrics. So for this one detail in Gabrielle's outfit, she actually cut up a belt from her mink coat, which was really wild. I mean, yeah, I'm not into fur. I know a lot of Filipinos are, but yeah, she cut up that belt for my costume because she wanted it to look real. Um, so she showed me most of her love through these costumes. I would say most of our other relationship was very stressed, and I think I have a lot of my anxiety from her. But in these moments of her making costumes for me, that's where I get my most love from her. And while I was never able to learn sewing from her because she tried to when I was 5, and she was an awful teacher. She was like, "Why don't you already know how to do this?" And I'm like, "Because I'm 5 and you're the one who's supposed to be teaching me." I am told from all my relatives that they see my grandma's attention to detail in the things that I make. So, and they always say that I look just like her, and that makes me happy.
Thank you, Sky. This is Pau. In terms of what I wish for our interconnected communities and fun moments I'd like to share, I just wish for more of our communities to play, right? To have rest, and more art, right? Like this art is our need. We need this creativity. We need to feel seen. We need to feel heard and witnessed, right? So I wish all of this, and also my grandma and grandpa tailored clothes for a living as well in the Philippines and here in the United States. And they actually created a bunch of Filipinx barongs and butterfly sleeves, similar to what you're wearing. And that is my nanay Lola Minyang and tatay Lolo Ino. I love them so much. Definitely not perfect. As you mentioned, a lot of that internalized trauma passed down. But honestly, I think with my grandparents, they're survivors of World War II, and they had so much gentleness and softness to them. And so I really have these wonderful memories with them, creating our clothes for us. So that was awesome. So thank you so much today. Now Sky has some videos and photos to share with us, and folks are welcome to ask any questions to hosts and panelists via the chat. But first, Sky will show about 10 minutes of videos for us of what they're working on right now.
This is Sky speaking. First, I want to show the photo of me and my mom in our Xena costumes that my grandma Cora made. I don't have all my pictures are put away right now because my partner just moved into my house, so I could only access this one, but this is like my absolute favorite. Me and my mom are both dressed up as Xena. My mom is my white parent, so that's why she looks very white. I'm in front of her. I have a little cardboard chakram, which is like the circular weapon that Xena throws, in my hand, and it's actually tied with yarn to my arm so that I could throw it and it would bounce back to me. And then my mom has a sword, a fake sword, but she has real swords in real life, that she's holding over us. So yeah, this is in our backyard. And because in Chicago it's cold during Halloween, I think we both have black leggings on underneath because it's too cold. Next, I will show just a photo of this Filipinx show that I'll show a little video from. This is like a group shot of all of the folks who modeled in my Filipinx show, and a lot of the folks are from Export Quality Collective. But yeah, there's, I don't know, 15-ish people in here, and they're all wearing lots of different bright colors in spandex, along with some clear vinyls and iridescent stuff, and then some chainmail. Now, I really want to just show that teaser video of my kids' show, because that's what I'm most excited about. So here is that.
It's Sky, say hi. Let's spread our wings and fly. Let's rock, let's roll. You ready? Here we go. It's Sky and the Rebirth Warriors. Our adventures will be glorious. Sky and the Rebirth Warriors. Our fashion is notorious. There's a place in me that's just like you, 'cause I got love and you got love too. There's a place in you that's just like me, 'cause we both have LOVE. Sky and the Rebirth Warriors. Our adventures will be glorious. Sky and the Rebirth Warriors. Our fashion is notorious. It's Sky, say hi. Let's spread our wings and fly. Let's rock, let's roll, and strike your favorite pose.
So that song was by Afro Shoujo, who is one of the people who sang in the song Queer Crip Power, which we played at the very beginning of this webinar. Next, I'll show you, this is like a very edited down version of the first Radical Visibility Collective show that I did with Vogues and Compton Q. All the Radical Visibility Collective shows, it's like a Rebirth Garments show, but with the audio descriptive lyrics. So I just wanted to make some sort of distinction, because a lot more goes into these shows than the normal shows. So this shows just a couple little bits of my two favorite songs.
Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this visual description? Are you ready for this vocal transcription? So addictive, so descriptive. Queer Crips give you life.
Pink 3/4 turtleneck crop, circular cutout on the chest, don't stop. Dripping with meta-male chains on the hip, shoulder shimmy, shake, shake, dip. Sheer pink bralette, no chest. Sheer cargo pants got me obsessed. Colorful metal scale mail headpiece, covered in tats and graphic makeup. Drop down real low, shake it back up. Drop down real low, shake it back up. Drop down real low, shake it back up. Drop down real low.
Top heavy, got bottom too. Ears pierced, no tattoos. Pink on pink, sexy dress, gorgeous legs. She blessed, cargo arms, sculptural. Split up the leg, boom boom pow. After her stroke, her legs stayed hidden. Not anymore, they're all we adore. Leg waist coated in pink camo. Look at that sexy AFO. Pink outfits and accessories. Hot looks caressing my body. She's here confessing real loudly that Rebirth is the look for me. Hey, bitch, we'll call you out, call you up, make sure you're about those success needs. Hey, bitch, we'll cause a scene, cause some trouble. She'll be there on the double, you see. Hey, bitch, if you don't got ramps, ain't got no lips. When ableists start acting swift, just call on me. Hey, bitch, we'll make the change. Stage accessible for the full range of gender, size, and ability.
Baby blue when it's monochrome. home too. You a star right now when they eyes on you. Bleed cut shit, swing with the crotch. Now the whole room probably looking at us. He got cuffs on his arms and cuffs on his legs. Nobody ever said cuffs was only for the big. Got the ass cut out, thighs cut out. Back to hit the city and strut about. He's anxious and nervous, excited and queer. A single white boy with blue eyes and brown hair, and he slays. He got a blue visor for the shade, a blue microphone so the world can hear him sing like. Slow it down for the baddie coming out. Black, young and disabled, but she beautiful, no fable. Rocking pink on pink on pink. Mini dress, but she no string. Booty shaking at the function. Will she dance and dance with me? Elbow crutches for the Duchess, and she strapped up on her feet. Everybody clap your hands for Miss Alexis, she a queen, yeah. And she got a dolphin tattoo, and that's cool.
There's a 16-minute video with the rest of this performance, and then a whole nother one that has another 15-minute video. I see a question in the chat. What age ranges are your kids from Sky and the Rebirth Warriors? Right now, I have an 11-year-old that's on the show. But yeah, I haven't totally figured out all of the people in the show yet. But it's open to any ages of any kids to be on it, or of any people to be on it in general. It can be all ages. But yeah, it's targeted towards 6 to 11-year-olds. But I think it'll be good for it and fun for everybody. I also see from Oli, Hola Sky, your work is so important. So thankful for this event. Love to hear about your thoughts on collaboration in your work. My work is so much collaboration. So yeah, the Radical Visibility Collective shows, those were collaborative designs that then me and my employees fabricated and worked on. I mostly do most of the pattern making of things. I'm trying to start to have people do a little bit more on their own, just to get them to up their skills. And then with the music, Jake Vogues was like the main executive producer, but then we had tons of people behind making the music. And then I see all of my models as collaborators because I do interviews with them, which you can see an example of on my Vimeo, to figure out what their dream outfit is. So yeah, all of my work is all about collaboration. And that's also why I called it Rebirth Garments rather than like other clothing lines being the designer's name or things like that. I wanted it to be more open, to be about everybody. Should I show a tiny bit of the Filipinx show or, okay. So this is a show from 2018. Oops. And this was all Filipinx models. I wish that I had more time to have more models, and I wish that I had more folks who were more mixed also, but this was a very quick turnaround show. So this is what I have.
So it never ends. You know that I just need to be free, and we can keep it going eternally.
skip ahead a little bit so you can see more people. Yeah, we had lots of different styles of music, and it was all Filipino music. So that was really fun. Okay, yeah, this performer is amazing.
Pagod na nga ako, ayoko na makarinig ng ganito. Di ko mapantayan mga bumikinan na idolo ninyo. May pera lang naman kaya mga kanta tumututok sa radyo. Pero putangin na nyo, dudumi ng kaluluwa ninyo. Sino ba ang nuloko ninyo, hunghat? Anong akala niyo sa amin? Mga tangat magbubulag-bulagan sa ginawa ninyong kalokohan. Wala na nga kayong talento. Mga basura, mga hayop. Putangin na nyo. Ba't kayo pumayag tsupain ang ethics ni Sandro Marcos? Mukha kayong may pinag-aralan. Mukha naman kayong malusog at may mainit na pagkain sa pagkainan. Pero bakit ganito? Di ko mapigilang itanong kung saan ba nanggaling ang nilalamon ninyo. Kasi putang ina ninyo umikiskis yung mga braso nyo sa apo ng taing diktador. Para putang ina nyo, putang ina mo, Ortiz Mito. Sulpulin mo yung mukha mo.
So at the end of all the shows, we always all dance together and then get the crowd to dance with us too. And yeah, partway through this show, I actually changed and came out again because I have a drag character based off of my dad called Rene Arturo Geraldo Valoira Cubacub III. I know I said that very fast. But yeah, I come out and do some macho dancing. That's probably my favorite thing about Filipino culture actually is macho dancing. So people should look it up. Although online it's all like somebody has messed up the Wikipedia about macho dancing and it makes it sound like it's men dancing for women, but it's just gay. Like they've like they've deleted the gay parts of the Wikipedia. But yeah, it's just amazing queer dancing. So check out macho dancing. Okay, there's a question. Was there something distinct or special about doing an all Filipinx show? Also, a couple of my friends were in that show. That's so fun. I really love doing the Filipinx show because I like, yeah, just getting to make clothing for all of these Filipinx folks and getting to, like, every time I do a show, I get to spend time with each person in order to measure them and interview them. So just getting to hear and connect with all of these people was just super nice. I had done 2 other all Filipinx shows before, but this one, the other ones were in LA and Toronto, but this one was better because we got to have more people and I had a little more time than those other ones actually. I love every single show that I do, but it was extra special doing an all Filipinx show. I think there was another question. Oh yeah, there wasn't description live during the show because I needed the Filipinx languages transcribed.
This is Pau here. Others are welcome to ask any question you like to Sky here. And also, I just want to share that I loved that last Filipinx video. There was someone with like some, it kind of looked like Steven Universe. It's a youth pop culture animated story and it looks like some of the gems. It was really cool. And also some of your the song that we opened with, Queer Crip Power, it also sounds a lot like Steven Universe to me. So I'm not quite sure if you get like Steven Universe visions. Maybe you can share with us like what are some of the dreams and wishes that your folks, your models ask for, and were some of them inspired by Steven Universe? I wonder. Also beautiful.
This is Sky speaking. It's so funny because I didn't know about Steven Universe until like partway into having my clothing line, and then when people would always ask me, I think I was like near a place that was having an anime con or something, and everyone was like, oh, you're dressed up like Steven Universe, and I was like, what is happening? How come I keep on getting asked this? So yeah, I think my aesthetic just happens to also be similar to that, but it's because my Rebirth Garments is like all inspired by all of my favorite childhood things. So it's like Xena the Warrior Princess, Sailor Moon, the Spice Girls, and like Star Trek. So I feel like if you smush those all together, that's what what it looks like. I forgot the rest of the question.
Are your what are some of the common themes that your models are inspired? This is Pau.
This is Sky. I've I've had I love when I get really fun descriptors. So I'll have somebody be like, I want to look like Baby Spice Unicorn, or I want to look like a space mistress, or I want to look like just like lots of fun things like Lisa Frank. So I don't know, I can't even remember. Sexy mermaids, like so I love when people will give me those fun, very visual sounding descriptions, and then I'll come up with something. But yeah, I ask each model and any clients who want to, like, what would make clothing more accessible to your body, what would make clothing show off your gender expression best, what parts of your body you want to highlight, what parts of your body you feel vulnerable about, and then what parts of your body do you feel vulnerable about but want to highlight in this context. So that's like kind of what I always ask. Yeah, I will show you my dog. Because she just got groomed today. So yes, DOG will be one of the stars of Sky and the Rebirth Warriors. Are you inspired at all by 70s punk aesthetics of Vivienne Westwood or 90s New York club kids scene extravagant costumes? I'm definitely obsessed with club kids. I was more into like Lee Bowery, so like London club kids. I'm also definitely inspired by punk aesthetics. I do like Vivienne Westwood, but I'm not very interested in like any sort of actual fashion houses or designers. I mostly just like more of the street style.
This is Pau here, and thanks for all of these awesome questions, everyone. And oh, just before I forget, Steven Universe is awesome because the voice actresses are queer, Pinay, Pilipinx. They're awesome. Majority of them are Pilipinx. And also the characters are transgender, non-binary, queer, of color, Black, Indigenous, and India Moore is in it. One of my favorite non-binary Taino peoples. So awesomeness. No wonder everyone's like, are you Steven Universe? Because you're just all of that. You're all of that awesomeness. We do have a question from an anonymous person. So it says, it's a deep question. So any advice to Filipinx non-binary youth whose familia isn't supportive of them and the youth are living in fear instead of joy?
This is Sky speaking. I mean, yeah, I felt a good amount of that way when I was younger. Uh, Now that we have the internet, if you have access to internet when you're like that's not monitored, I mean, I think finding Instagram, like on Instagram, other queer Filipinx non-binary folks, like that's how I've gotten more connected myself is like all through online. So yeah, just like following other people who are creators, but also just finding friends and being able to talk to them that way. But I also know sometimes online stuff can be very monitored. Uh, I guess I I mostly would just always be fighting with my grandma Cora, uh, and talking back to her a lot. But I also know that's also not safe for everybody. So that's and it it gave me a lot of anxiety and a lot of um, yeah, it didn't feel good. I would get really sick every time we would have to go to her house. Um, yeah, pers- like personally at my home, like with my mom and dad, I was able to be myself more. So I know I'm very privileged to have had that experience. But also, my dad wasn't really around that much, so I didn't have my Filipino parent um, like putting that much onto me about not being allowed to express myself. Um, so it was, yeah, mostly when I was with my extended family. Um, I, I guess I really just dove into my art. I learned how to chainmail when I was 13, and I would just, whenever I was around my family, I would just make chainmail quietly in a corner, and that's like how I would cope. um, but yeah, I guess I don't really know if that's helpful to tell you all. I mean, I feel a lot better now that I'm an adult, but it doesn't help when you're a youth. And now that most of my family members, yeah, a large portion of my family has passed away, so I am able to be more myself around my remaining family. But that's also not a fun answer. um, yeah.
I want to share here, this is Pau, that Dr. Oli Rodriguez is also here with us today, who is friends with Sky from Chicago. And for the youth that asked that question, thank you for asking that question, because this is why we are here. We, Sky, Dr. Oli, Dr. Joy Sales, and more, we're doing our best to create this world where kids don't have to live in fear. And so I know our time is coming short, but the youth in the crowd, or the parents, or the caregivers, you are welcome to go to these websites, and hopefully we can find that support, that there is a future out there where trans, queer, Crip people are thriving, BIPOC people are thriving. It's happening now. And reach out for support. Reach out for support to us. So yes, and our time is coming up. So I just want to say maraming salamat. Many thanks to Sky for the gift of your queer Crip mad Filipinx existence, friendship, art. My students and I appreciate learning about you, Rebirth Garments, Radical Visibility. And thank you so much to all that made this event happen. Cal State LA WGSS, Arts and Lectures, Web Accessibility, Bowtie Interpreting, and more. So thank you all so much. And yes, Any last words, Sky? Thank you for being with us today. I cannot express my joy for this assigned cute at birth pin from you. So
Anybody can DM me on Instagram. I'm a lot better at answering Instagram than I am at answering emails. And I'll be posting updates about the kids show on my Instagram, and I'll post the show to my Vimeo when it's ready. I won't be posting it to YouTube. It's too scary there.
well, maraming salamat. Thank you to all. Thank you.
Salamat.
Take care.